Hi, I'm Layne Smith. I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, a member of the Suncoast Fly Fishers, and I'm going to tie a little fly today that I had tied up a few years back for Lefty Krey for bonefish fishing down in the Bahamas. Never had a name for the fly until Lefty got a hold of me, told me he wanted to tie this fly for him, but he wanted a pink nose. I used white thread at the time, and I still do for the body, but I ended up putting a pink nose on it for him. He took him down to the Bahamas and caught a ton of bonefish on this. Basically what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up a little saddle for these flies, or for the eyes of the fly, so that they don't slide back and forth on your hook. Tied a couple little humps there right in the middle, and we're going to tie that fly down. Now, this fly, if you tie your eyes slightly forward, you're going to have a jigging action, kind of like a shrimp. If you tie your eyes a little bit farther back on the fly, you'll have more of a minnow action for your shrimp. So if I was to tie this up for a minnow imitation, I would tie my eyes just back another eye's width back on the hook. Now what I do is to set these eyes, I did about 3 turns of thread across one way, 3 turns of thread across the other way. Now to secure these eyes, I'm going to take and do figure of 8 wraps underneath the hook shank, about 6 turns or so. Then I'm also going to come over the top and do the same thing. And then for the last part of it, I'm going to take and wrap my thread over top of the hook shank, but underneath the eyes. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all those figure of 8 thread wraps and it's going to lock them in. It's going to cinch them down so that those eyes will not go anywhere. Now those eyes are pretty well locked in. If you like, you can go ahead and put a little bit of head cement on that. Now, the main body of the fly is done with badger hair. It's a great hair. You have it. You can get it in all lengths here on the hide. You have nice long ones for size 2 and above, even into the aughts if you want to tie for redfish or something like that. But if you want to tie the bonefish patterns, if you're tying for the Bahamas, I would go with the smaller. I would take it up closer to the head, and you get your shorter hairs. Okay. For the keys, I might go with something like this, about this length. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of that, just snip that out. Okay, now, nice thing about this hair is you have a nice variety of color in the hair. I'm going to take and pull out a little bit of that fluff, because I don't need quite so much. I'm going to divide this down into a couple separate pieces. All right, now, your badger hair and a lot of your hairs, like squirrel tail and things like that, they're a very slick hair. So what you want to do is you want to take and always, as you trim this down, take and put a little head cement on this, and that'll lock your hairs in so that they don't slip out when you tie. So I'm just going to put a dab of head cement right there on the material. Lay it on the side of the hook. Take a couple loose wraps and let that material roll over the top of the hook. We'll pull it back to get it out away from the eye. Just enough to get our thread wraps down on it. We'll take and bring those thread wraps back to the eyes again. And then we're going to go right in behind and lock those down with a couple wraps of thread. All right? That's the first part. So now we're going to take and Add a little bit more material. Now, what I do, if I'm going to tie a lot of these, what I'll do is I'll prep my material ahead of time, and I'll do up a bunch of these where I take and put a little head cement on them. So I just have a bunch of them that I can tie right in. Okay, but I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate again how I do this. Take and just pull a small bunch out. Strike out the fine hairs. Trim it. Put a little head cement on. Tie that in right in the front. And then divide that so it lays equally on either side of the hook. Right now we're going to throw a little bit of flash into it. If you're doing bonefish, you don't want to overdo the flash. Okay, a lot of times people use, I think the flash catches more fishermen than the fish. But in some instances, for some species, flash is a little bit better. For bonefish, if they're a little on the skittery side, you want to kind of avoid a lot of flash. So I take about 2 or 3 strands is all I need. And I'm going to fold that in half. And I'm going to cut those. We'll fold that in half one more time. Cut. Now we'll just take and lay that around our bobbin, and we're going to grab it. Now a lot of people tie it in on one side and then tie it in on the other side. That's too many steps for me. Okay, I like it a little bit simpler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and wrap it around my thread. Whoops. Okay, and I'm going to pinch this off so that it lays equally on each side of the hook shank. So I grab it on one side and then on the other. Create like a V. Okay, if you notice that. Take and put a couple wraps down, tie that down, come in underneath the eyes, and then just do one wrap down, come back in front of the eyes. And that'll lay your flash right down on that hair. All right? And then we're just going to put in one last piece of hair. Again, we stroke the fur out, trim it, put a little head cement on it. Tie that in. Remembering to pull it back as you tie it in so that you don't crowd your eye. Okay, divide your hook shank. All right, and then we just do our little whip finish there and finish it off. And to make this for its namesake, Lefty Krey's bonefish fly, we'll do as he requested, and we're going to put our pink nose on it. Just take our pink thread, right back, we'll trim that up, and then we're just going to take our bob and we're going to turn it counterclockwise. What that does is it takes all the twists out of it. I'm using flat wax nylon for this, okay, because it ties a nice smooth head. Okay, we just finish that off, make it nice and pink there for Lefty. Do our whip finish. And now the fly is just about complete. To make it a little bit more durable, I'm going to take and put a little bit of UV material on it. I get this from a lot of companies. You have your clear cure glue, and you have tough fly. I found a company out in California, and it's called Wahoo International, and they have this product called Solarez. And basically, what they were was a surfboard company that did UV material for surfboards. And they just started getting into the fly tying end of it, and it is great little stuff because it dries quick. It doesn't has no odors and things like that, like some of your epoxies do. Just going to take and spread that around on the top of that, around behind, underneath. Okay, just a dab more on the bottom here. Don't need a whole lot. This UV material goes a long way. All right. Now all we do is hit that with our UV light. And it only takes a few seconds. And that fly is ready to go fishing right now. Now I tied this a little bit thicker because it was suggested that they would like to use this for redfish, it's also a great redfish fly as well, tied in the larger sizes like this. If you want to go for bonefish in the Bahamas, you might go for a smaller one in, say, a size 6, which is this fly right here. And that is Lefty Krey's bonefish fly. Thank you very much.